Hello, welcome to another episode of Daily Wisdom Words Podcast. I'm your host, Renee O'Day. Daily Wisdom Words is an online community for writers and poets all over the world. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, where we will be talking to some very distinguished guests, each one specializing in topics you don't want to miss.
Hey everyone, I am Neil Trivedi and I will be your co-host. We want to thank you for joining us today and give you a very warm welcome to another episode of the Daily Wisdom Words Podcast. We're both excited to be here every Saturday at 9 a.m. Pacific.
Today we have successful life coach of 13 years, author of the book Common Sense Happiness and the Footprint Plan, and host of the podcast We're Talking Shift, Loree Bischoff. Hi, Loree.
Hey, Loree. Welcome to our show.
Hi, welcome you guys into my life. You're so much fun. I love your energy and thank you. I'm honored to be on your show.
Huge fan. Huge fan. Yeah.
I'm a huge fan. As we were talking off camera, I've been such a long time fan of your podcast that when I emailed you and you responded back the same day, I'm like, this is unreal. She agreed. I can't believe this. So it was.
He's so cute.
Well, I know how it feels. I know how it feels to put out an invitation to somebody and then, hope that A, they respond, and B, they respond the way you'd like them to respond. So I always keep that in mind when I receive a request. And if there's any way for me to accept, I always like to do that. So I know how it feels to be on the other end.
Oh God,
Yeah.
You are the sweetest person.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna take lessons from you.
And we'll get into that a little bit
Yeah.
later on about how your podcast started and all that. So we'll definitely touch on that.
So, Loree, you've been a certified life coach since 2008. That's awesome. Can you tell our audience exactly what a life coach does?
Well, essentially, in a nutshell, the role of a life coach is to kind of co-pilot with a client and help them get from point A to point B. So whether they're trying to overcome a challenge or just trying to reach a new goal or navigate, some troubled waters in their life, whatever the thing is that is up for them, our main role is to help them find what they usually have somewhere inside of them. They usually have the knowledge or the answers that they're looking for inside, but a lot of times we just need help with an outside objective party helping us to unearth those answers, trying to guide them into some broader perspectives so that they can find those things. And sometimes, if they are really, really stuck, a life coach is able to ask some really powerful questions that help them figure those things out. And then once we have some clarity and some direction, then our job is to help them sort of map out an action plan to start moving them in the direction of what they're trying to accomplish. So that's in a nutshell what a life coach does. Of course, there are layers to that, and depending on what a person specializes in with coaching, there can be some other aspects to that. But for myself, because I'm a holistic life coach, so I'm a holistic nutrition coach. I've got a background in divine science, spiritual training. I've got a couple of different certifications in life coaching. So when I work with a person, I'm able to really work with them on all the main aspects of their life. So I'm kind of like having a personal trainer for your life. And I am able to help my clients make their mental and their emotional and their physical wellness muscles stronger and more fit so that they can experience life in the ways that make them feel great and excited to get up every day.
That's awesome. By the way, that was
is really
Kona.
awesome.
That was my puppy.
She's the
And
mascot.
she right
of this
now is my
podcast.
life coach.
Yeah.
They have a way of doing that, our pets, don't they?
Oh,
Yeah.
they really do.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
do.
So, can you briefly explain also how exactly you personally developed an interest in it and how you got into it? I know it did start after an event that you had put together with your sister, but and I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, so that was in 2007. I had this what I thought was a brainstorm to put together this big weekend long kind of motivational event geared toward mothers with speakers and workshops and filled with information to help moms create a more balanced and fulfilling life. Because it's pretty easy, as you probably know, Maureen, to get a little bit swallowed up in the role of motherhood, and then some other aspects of yourself sort of get put on the back burner, right?
Absolutely.
So I said to my sister, let's do this. And she has her entire adult life is a background in corporate meeting and event planning. So she understands all of the logistics of planning an event. And I had an idea, of what the content, what we wanted that to be. So we put this thing together. And at that time, I had not heard of life coaching yet. I didn't know such a thing existed. But one of the many speakers that we hired, who was an acquaintance of my sister, happened to be a life coach. And so, long story short, by the time we were done with that weekend event, I realized that that's what we just did. We literally put together an entire life coaching event for these women. And I knew then I had found my calling. I mean, I just felt like
Wow.
this is it. I'm doing it, and I didn't realize I was doing it. So then all I needed to do was really get some professional training in so I could learn some of the more specific modalities and fill in the gaps, of course. But that was really what launched it right there.
Wow. Wow. You're my hero. I'm telling you, girl. Just to go from motherhood to this, I'm still trying to figure it out, but no.
Well, it's a journey, isn't it? It's a lifelong journey figuring things
really
out,
is.
right?
Yeah. I mean, we can't figure it out in a day, but anyway, how does one go about hiring a life coach? Is that a weird question?
Well, not at all. Not at all. I think that, depending on if you are looking for something very, very specific, like I want a life coach to help me navigate my relationship, or to help me with get my health back in order. Or maybe it's a very specific business goal. You have business things. So sometimes a person wants to look for somebody that specializes in the area that is most up for them at that point in their life. But so that's one way. And then I think that, the other way is just, I get most of my business from referrals. So it's finding out maybe somebody that who's worked with somebody that can say, wow, this person, here's what they did for me. So that you've got some, somebody telling you, basically referring that they've worked with you and they've, here's the results they've experienced. That's the best way, I think, to find a life coach, is to see if you can find someone else that has worked with somebody that can tell you, yeah, this is a great person, give them a try, or the opposite. Yes, I worked with this person and it wasn't so good, so steer clear.
Yeah. Well,
referrals are helpful.
I was listening to you were doing a podcast on someone else's show, and you, oh God, you so inspired me. But you were talking about your favorite thing is when someone has a light bulb moment. Like, boom. So, can you tell us about a light bulb moment or two that you've had?
Oh, gosh.
I know, right?
Wow. Well,
well, one would be when you decided to do the event, right?
Sure. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's a great example right there. That wasn't a light bulb. That was a lightning bolt moment. It
I
was
love that.
really, yeah, that was massive because
Mhm.
I ever since I was in high school, or even junior high, I was drawn into that field of wanting to be a counselor or a therapist or a psychologist, or, that it was always a calling for me, but I just couldn't, I just could not stomach the thought of going to school 1 minute longer than I had to. So
Right.
I just assumed that, anything in that general field was going to be out of the question for me because I refused to go to school. So that was pretty much it in a nutshell. So,
Right.
when I stumbled across the life coaching profession, I went, oh, that I can do, because that training means I can focus on all of the stuff that I love and want to learn about. I can fulfill my calling of really wanting to be of service to others without having to do some of the things that have nothing to do with that I was resisting when it came to going to school. So that was
Yeah.
really the biggest one. The other, I guess, light bulb, um, I guess the other thing, which is maybe not so specific but more general, is that it's I think it's quite fascinating, how I will usually have, and I think a lot of life coaches that are really in tune with their own process as well as their clients, normally whatever is happening in the session between the coach and the client, somehow when you're done, if you sit and ponder what just transpired for a moment, you will realize that there are aspects of what just transpired between the coach and the client that you can apply to
Right.
your own life. So if you are a student of personal growth and personal development, which I am, I think that, we would benefit from being that student our entire lives. So you're always looking for, how can I look at things a little bit differently? How can I raise my consciousness a little bit more? How can I develop a little bit more? It always, there's something there for you too. So there's always like
Right.
little light bulb moments after each session that I have with a client that I can sit back and reflect and go, how does this play out in my own life?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
incredible. That's
Yeah.
impressive.
That is. And one of
Yeah.
the things that I've heard you say is that you're a very routine-oriented person, right? In a
Mhm.
couple of podcasts that I listened to. But I've also heard on another podcast when I was listening to your husband Eric's podcast, and he was talking about you about how you've always been open to big changes, right? Like pivotal changes,
Mhm.
whether it was the very brief move to
Right.
Connecticut or whatever else. It's always like,
Mhm.
let's do it. Let's think about the positive sides of this big change. So how do you balance the two aspects out, being open to change, but at the same time having that consistency of a healthy routine?
Hmm. Yeah, that's a really great question. And it really is a balance. I don't want to say a balancing act because that makes it sound like it makes it sound like it's hard. Like, oh, I have to balance
Yeah.
this. And
Yeah,
it's not.
right,
I think
Hmm.
that you have to, for me anyway, being very cognizant of the ebb and flow of life. It's just, you are typically in periods of time where things are sort of just stable for a while, and things are sort of status quo, and everyone's just kind of, clipping along at their pace, and that's a wonderful time for routine. And it's sort of like a wonderful way of sustaining things and maintaining things.
right,
But and we need those times. We need those times to
right,
just be, like, it's sort of like nutrition for your mind and your body and your spirit when you've got those times to just be stable. But then we also have
right,
to realize that growth doesn't come from being neutral. So when it's
Right.
time to grow, that means change. So that means when an opportunity arises, and sometimes we don't see it as an opportunity, but sometimes we see it as chaos, right? It's kind of what's going
Right.
on right now all over the world, chaos,
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
it's forcing change to come in.
Mm-hmm.
So when we have that to any degree in our own life, we can resist it and be afraid of it, which is what happens to a lot of people, or we can have faith and understand that that change is always there somehow. Somehow it's for our own betterment, for our own good. And so we don't resist it. We embrace it, and we look at it as opportunity, and we navigate the change in the best way that we can. And then usually once we go through that kind of period, it might be kind of like a little bit of, stormy weather's on the sea, and sometimes it's more than others. But once we get through it, then we usually kind of settle back into that next phase of routine, and and experiencing what has come from that change, being able to adapt to it and incorporate it into our lives. So we implement, right? And then we get into that routine, and we are there until the next wave comes. So we need both. We have to have both.
I do.
If you
Oh
don't
my
have
gosh.
change, you're stagnant, right? And if you're stagnant, you're not growing, you're dying. That's just the way life works. If you're not growing, you're dying. And you may not be literally physically dying in the moment, but you may be dying emotionally, you may be dying spiritually, you may be just dying by not evolving, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's
Well,
a good thing, change.
yeah, changes, because I had a very significant light bulb moment. I told you my daughter had cancer. And when, the words you never, ever want to hear is your child has cancer.
Sure.
And, she fought for about a year and she won. Hello. Thank you. No, but
Yay.
I went into mind, body, spirit. And it was my my savior, my way of coping.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, I want to suggest to you, there's this Dr. Huberman who also has a podcast. He's a neuroscientist out of Stanford. And he talks about how the brain works and how, mind, body, and spirit and all that. He is amazing. So, and meditation, nutrition, all that too. And you have to, like you said, you have to find that balance, because, life can change like that. And then you're like,
absolutely.
what do I do?
Yeah.
And so I had to go in and I had to find that mind and body to, calm myself down so that I could help my daughter,
Right.
because those are the words that you don't want to ever hear.
Yes. No, of course not.
I didn't mean to bring this down.
That's okay, Maureen, because that was a big thing that happened in your life, and I think it's important that you brought that up about, sometimes when something really scary like that comes up, it forces you to have to tap into some resources that you may not have been tapping into before, that can serve you even better moving forward now. So you were forced to tap into more of a mind, body, spirit, way of thinking and doing things and moving through the world, maybe more so than you were doing before. And that gave you the probably more strength and resistance and positivity, the right kind of energy that you needed to help your daughter and be there for her.
I love that energy, the right kind of energy. That was it, because I had so much guilt. I thought I gave it to her. As a mother, you think that you've done that to your child. Yeah. And of course it's, it's silly to think that way. And so I knew I had to change my energy. I had to, I had to lift up my energy to, make it okay for everybody around me. So I wasn't sad all the time, and I wasn't holding things in, and I was able to, deal with it in a, in in a healthy way,
Positively. Yeah.
which is the next question. Is you talk about greedy for good health. And I love that. You are greedy for good health. So can you explain that to our audience and like, let's do this?
Yeah, I think that, there's a lot of greed going around in the world. There always has been. I guess it's just part of human nature for some people, maybe not for everyone. But I think sometimes we get greedy about things that we don't even realize we're greedy about. We get greedy about having a lot of comfort. That's, we don't look at it as that way, but the more comfortable we get as humans, the more things are made easier for us, the more we get addicted to that. And we want more of it, and we don't want to give it up when we have it, right? And I just think that, if we're going to be throwing greed around and we're going to be exercising greed in our life, then I think we need to redirect it. And I think that one of the things that many people are the least greedy about is their own health. So I think that everyone really needs to get a lot greedier about amassing great health for themselves. And I mean, that means getting greedy about the kinds of the food that you're putting into your body. It means getting greedy about your mental diet. What are you feeding your mind? It means getting greedy about your spiritual diet. What is there out there besides just you, the little you? Do you have, any kind of a relationship with any kind of, higher power or source or God or the universe, whatever word you want to use? I mean, a lot of people have, I think, some sort of a connection in that manner, whatever they choose to call it. But it's sort of like the last resort for so many people. And then we're willing to let our body temple just sort of do the best it can without really focusing on the things that we're doing that are making it harder for our body to stay healthy and our minds to stay healthy. We're not focusing on the things that we should stop doing that are harmful, and we're not very focused and greedy about getting as much of the good stuff in as we can and as is available to us. So I think that, to me, health is my religion. It just is. I think it's the foundation of everything. And so I don't have any problem saying I am really freaking greedy about amassing really good health. And I think that, if you've got your health, you have the resilience that you need and the stamina that you need to rise to the challenges that are coming your way. This is a perfect example. We have, we're in the midst of some sort of illness that has swept the planet. And in our, I won't speak for other countries, but I know in our country, we've got, over 70% of the population is on like 2, 3, 4 medications. That's right there. That alone should tell you that's not normal. It's become the norm. Right? But it is not normal. That's not normal for the human body. So I think that this is like a big wake-up call to people that it doesn't mean that if you're super healthy, you won't ever get anything. But what it does mean is that if you are super healthy and you have really made that a priority in your life, if you do get sick, it'll be a speed bump. You recover. That's normal. But having something like this take you down is not normal, and it's not necessary.
God, you're incredible. You really are. You really just, I mean, I'm telling you, I got light bulbs going on and off all over.
But do you agree? See what I mean, Neil? Do you agree?
100%.
Yes.
Because
and
if you
have
the health,
you said that people are not as greedy as they should be. Why do you think? Is it because we tend to take our health for granted, or do we see it as too much work, or why do you think that is, that most people don't seem to care enough?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of things. I think it's easy to take your health for granted when you're younger because your body is so damn amazing. It'll take a lot of abuse and it'll take a licking and keep on ticking, right? It just keeps going
Yeah.
until one day until it doesn't,
Mhm.
right? So you can
Mhm.
get away with so much when you're in your youth that you can fall into patterns that you don't realize are building momentum in the wrong direction. So I think part of it is taking things for granted. I think the other part is, again, back to we are addicted to comfort. And part of comfort is convenience. And convenience means convenient food. You don't have to, food
Sugar.
that we don't
Right.
have to work at, food that you don't have to
Yeah.
think about, shop for, try to put, time and effort into. So it's easy to get food and food stuff that's all ready to go. That's convenient. And
Yeah.
that, if you make a lifestyle of that, that will take you down. There's no question about it. It's not a maybe, it's an absolute. If you make a lifestyle, and I'm not saying once in a while, exceptions to the rules don't kill us, but what you do as a rule can definitely kill you. And when you spend a couple of decades eating the wrong kind of food on a regular basis as a rule, you absolutely are going to have some sort of illness or disease resulting from that. It's a
Right.
guarantee. And that is going to be a very uncomfortable path once you reach that destination. That's going to be very uncomfortable trying to
Yeah.
navigate that. So
Yeah.
I think it's a combination of things. And part of it is part of it is our own fault. If we are just going to be lazy, then that's what you get. Because it takes effort. Health is not a lazy man's game. Maintaining good optimal health it takes work, it takes focus, it takes mental resources, and it takes a hunger to make that a priority in your life. So
Right.
if you're not going to do that, then it won't be a priority, and you set yourself up for having to deal with issues down the road at some point. So I think when we allow ourselves to slip into that, I don't have time, so I'll just run through the drive-through, or I'll just get this frozen thing that I have to pop in the microwave, which is another evil. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow.
those are going to those are going to net results over the course of time. And so
Right.
if you want to live a healthy life, however long it is, into your whatever your old age is going to be, whatever the length of time that's going to be, if you want it to be quality and healthy, then you can't wait until you get there to figure it out. It's
Right.
too late by
Yeah.
then. You have to start, the momentum has to be started now before you get there to keep you from having to navigate the troubles, to
Right.
keep you in a place of health. So
Absolutely.
you gotta work at it. You gotta make it a priority,
Don't,
and
don't ignore the check engine light.
Well,
Right.
yeah, exactly.
don't even
Exactly.
wait for it to come on.
Yeah.
No,
There you go.
I had to
Yeah.
have heart surgery because we have a family genetic thing with the aneurysm. So I got an aneurysm on my heart. My mother had died of it, and then my sister had it. And so, that, and I was so fortunate because the doctor said, you don't have an ounce of plaque in your heart. I was like, but
Nice.
that, just because he said that didn't mean I could just start junking up,
Yeah.
Right.
It had to be,
Right.
it had
Yeah.
to be, but that was like
Yeah.
kind of like cool, but they fixed it.
Yeah.
They put something that looks like a vacuum hose in the place where the aneurysm is. It's kind of cool. But yeah, that was
Well, yeah, and some things like that are not, if there's things that are not always in our control, and then then you do the best you can and you use the resources available to you to right those things. But most of what most people are suffering from is self-imposed. Most of it, not all, are lifestyle choices. So the things that you have control over, then that's your responsibility, right? And then the things that happen that are fluky or genetic or whatever, then you deal with those the best, using the best things available to you, of course. I think the other thing that's important to note, though, is that I think that as far as I mean it when I say health is your personal responsibility, and it's not a lazy man's game. That being said, though, the food industry is really done a massive disservice to people by duping them into thinking that certain things are healthy, that they are trusting, and they're not.
Right.
So, there are a lot of people. I've worked with so many clients that say, yeah, I have a pretty healthy diet. And I say, okay, let's, keep a food journal for about 10 days, give it to me. And then in our next session, we'll go over everything and we'll make sure things looking good. There's no red flags. And then I'll get it. And, what they thought was healthy isn't. And it's not because they they're not trying. It's because they have been misled. They've been misled by the food industry, by all kinds of buzzwords and just fallacies that they've been told this is good for you. Yeah. Oh, it's natural. Oh, it's heart healthy. Oh, it's low fat. Oh, it's made with canola.
Which is the worst.
I mean, it's
low fat is the worst.
It's horrible.
All they're doing is putting in chemicals.
Exactly. But it's still a myth that people are still buying into. So, so there is that aspect where people have been sort of victimized by the food industry and the food giants into believing things that just are not true, that are absolutely not true. So you really have to be somebody that wants to know so badly that you're willing to dive in and do the research yourself. You have to dig.
Absolutely. Who's going to come by? Who's going to walk in the front door and say, I'm cleaning out your cabinets and you're going to eat this? Nobody. Nobody. Maybe we should start a business doing that. Hello.
There you go.
$1
idea there.
I know. So, you had mentioned that we were in a global pandemic, and you have clients all over the world. I mean, all over the United States, right? Because I heard you talking about a gentleman in New York, and he actually worked on the West Coast or did business with the West Coast. And his light bulb moment was when you said, because he was having trouble sleeping, when you said, well, maybe, when it's 5 o'clock in California and it's 8 o'clock in New York, at 5 o'clock in New York, you should shut your computer. And it was like that. Oh my God, that just changed his life. And it just takes little things. So with this pandemic, did you yourself go into isolation with your family? And did you gain a lot of clients? Because I mean, it really affected a lot of people.
Yeah, it really has, in ways nobody saw coming. So to answer your first question, as far as how it affected, our lifestyle, going into isolation, not at all. And no, we did not go into isolation. I don't think that that's the answer. Not for me anyway. But to be fair, we work from home for the most part, unless my husband is doing an event that requires, an appearance. But most of that got shut down too. But other than that, we work from home. I meet with my clients on Zoom, so that wasn't affected. And we're in Cody, Wyoming. We're in the least populated state in the entire country.
I live in Denver. Oh,
okay, 8 hours away.
I love Wyoming.
Yeah, so social distancing is kind of a way of life here.
I know, right?
It's
There's a
pretty
cow,
easy.
a
There's not
cowboy
that
and a
many
cow.
of us, right?
I know.
But all kidding aside, we didn't really have to do anything. In our in this state and in our town, there was only a couple of weeks really of when things first hit of lockdown stuff, and then everyone went back to business. So
Because they're so,
um,
you are distant.
yeah. Yeah, so it's business as usual here for the most part. So that hasn't really affected us. Um, and then the second part of your question, as far as clients, I a lot a lot of new clients. I think a lot of people
Good.
really needed
Hmm.
to work with somebody to help them kind of with this big massive change like we talked about earlier, big
Hmm.
changes, chaos, things breaking down, old ways, what to do now. So sure,
Good for
that
you.
definitely came up. Hmm.
You are
Uh,
amazing. You really are,
uh,
girl.
yeah.
You
And
Oh,
another
you
shut
are
up.
just
amazing thing, yeah, about you is you have a podcast that personally one of my favorite mental health based podcasts, and that's called We're Talking Shift.
I
So
love
can you
that
explain a
name.
little bit? I love it too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I
What a
do.
clever
I
title,
love
right?
it.
But can you talk a little bit about how did the idea of that come about, and how did the inception, the process, how did that all come together?
Well, actually, I have to say when I started the podcast, the first maybe 12 or so episodes, I had a co-host, and so I was doing something
Yeah,
with
I remember that. Yeah.
yeah, I was doing something with a co-host and Candace, and so it was something we had decided to do together that we thought would be valuable and enjoyable for
Hmm.
us as well. And so really, it was a joint initiative. And then after we got about a dozen or so in, she decided it wasn't really her cup of tea. So she went away, and I decided to just move forward as a solo host. And here we are, 140 episodes later.
Wow.
Uh,
Yeah.
Really?
yeah, but
Oh,
yeah. So it's been a little over 3 years, and has just kept growing and building since then. I really enjoy it, though. I have had some phenomenal guests on, and it's
can you
all
send them our
about
way?
do my best. So,
No, I'm kidding.
yeah,
I'm
so
kidding.
yeah, no, but it's all about shifting, right? I mean,
Hmm.
it's if
Yeah.
people, again, back to kind of what we talked about a little bit earlier, we can get so much into a routine that we can actually get ourselves a little stuck sometimes, or we've come up against a challenge that we just are not able to see a way around it or through it, and we get kind of stuck. And so the premise is, the antidote to stuck is always you have to shift. You've got to be able to
Hmm.
shift something. You've got to be able to pivot,
Love
you
that.
know, right?
Right.
Love that.
So we're talking shift is really all about giving giving people ideas and direction and inspiration to make those shifts in their lives that they need to make in order to get to the next level. Or sometimes it's not about another level, it's just about another way of thinking, about another meaning that you're going to apply to things. It's just, it's about shifting in a variety of ways. It might be mental, it might be emotional, it might be spiritual, it might be physical.
Oh,
Something's got to
right.
shift, though.
Hmm.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Um,
Mhm.
Yeah.
um,
So
light bulb,
you
light
mentioned,
bulb.
yeah, 140, yeah, 140 something episodes, and we are quote unquote newbies, I guess, into this. So any personal advice for us on how to navigate this itty bitty little podcast onto something more of what on your level now? Any advice going forward for us?
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, I'm flattered that you're asking me. I'm always looking for advice too, because I feel like I'm, a tiny fish in a pretty big ocean myself. But
I
I
know
guess
everybody has a podcast.
right, the
Yeah.
oceans, yeah, it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
getting more and
Mhm.
more. But for me anyway, I have to I have to my content, whether it's just me by myself doing a show or whether it's with the guest, whatever that content is or whatever that message is, it has to be something that I strongly resonate with, something that I believe truly, something that I think will have value to the listeners. So, you know what, in some way, shape, or form, it has to be somehow the listener can take something from the information being shared and apply it to their life, and somehow it's going to be up leveled in some way, shape, or form. And that to me is the most important thing is, am I giving value? Will somebody get something good out of this that's going to help them in some way in their life? And that's the criteria. And I have to believe it will be helpful, and I have to it has to resonate with me. It has to be exciting for me to want to share it. So that way I can be authentic. I can't be interested in sharing information that either I really don't resonate with or believe in, or that feels counter to my messaging. So to me, I think you just have to really stay kind of true to what it is you're trying to do and why you're trying to do it.
Well, we're really focused on mental health. So,
we started off in a little bit of different direction, but then like more of a writing base.
Well, we love
had a lot of writers. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But then we decided that as the authors started talking about their mental health stories and experiences, we thought, this is a much more broader, much more interesting area to go into. So that's how we kind of slowly started shifting, if I can use that word, to where we are now. And that's what kind of our mission is now, to going forward, make it more so about mental health rather than writing. A little bit of writing as well, but still the focus should be on mental health, because that's such a crucial topic,
I think you're right on there. It really is. It's a big thing. It's a bigger thing that I even realized. And the more some of my episodes are, focused on that, and the more feedback I get, the more I'm realizing that it's big. It's really, really big. It's very much needed. So I think that what you're doing is wonderful. And if that's what you're feeling drawn to,
back at you. You really, I'm life coaching it here. Anybody got a good book? I think I have one called Common Sense Happiness. You speaking of authors.
Hold it up.
You mean this one?
Yes, that one. You look gorgeous,
the one?
by the way. You look gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous on that cover. And then you have another one, the Footprint Plan. So,
so that one is called, that was an ebook, and it's called the Food Print Plan. Food Print.
Oh. Sorry, I don't have my glasses on.
That's okay.
Yes, there it is. I'm blind.
That's okay. When I type it always wants to autocorrect.
I know. Oh my God. Sometimes my text messages are so embarrassing because it's taken a word and put something else, and you're like, no, I didn't mean that. So, okay, your podcast, We're Talking Shift. How can our audience find it? Because I highly recommend it. Please, people, listen to her. She's amazing. As you can tell, she's amazing. And then where can we get your books?
Okay, so Common Sense Happiness is available on Amazon, so that's easy peasy. And
got it.
And as you know, you can get it in Kindle as well, so it's an ebook as well as a hard copy. The Food Print Plan is an ebook that is right on my website, so you can go there, you can buy the book and have an instant download, so you can get it immediately, and that's cool because that Common Sense Happiness is really about some basic principles to help people start kind of shoring up their mental diet, right? The Food Print Plan is to help you start shoring up your eating diet, your physical diet,
Mm-hmm.
your eating lifestyle. And that has some great, the thing that's cool about that book is it has some coaching exercises in it that I work with my private clients on. So you have to,
Okay.
you get to have a little bit of coaching in addition to getting information about, things that are good for you, what you should steer away from and why, and then a few recipes to get you started. But I think the main thing that's important for people to know is any kind of eating lifestyle change that you are trying to make, if you're trying to change your diet, if you don't change your mental diet along with it, the chances of you succeeding in maintaining that change are almost zero. That's why most people, keep
Mm-hmm.
doing diets because
Mm-hmm.
they can't maintain them. They get there and then something happens and they lose it and they backslide. So that's because you're trying to change only one aspect of what needs to be changed. If you don't change the mental diet along with the physical diet, then your chances of success are pretty slim. So
Yeah.
the first component of the food print plan is to help you with some exercises start to shift your mental diet so that you are in the mind space to maintain the changes that you're trying to affect with what you're eating. Make sense?
Yes.
Yeah,
Because,
absolutely.
honey, I need your credit card. I'm going on the Loree's website and I'm buying this right after we get off this this show. But
Yeah.
Loree, thank you so
So
much for
It's so
joining
been
us.
so fun. Yeah.
I mean, you have been like, don't tell anybody, one of my favorites. Okay, because I've had a few that
We've had
they were
that
awesome too, but you
but
really
this has
you
been
just like I said, were you head cheerleader? Because you were just like, let's do this, let's go get them.
no,
So
no, I wasn't that group team person in school. I just
I know.
I took a run at cheerleading and then, I was like, oh, this just is not for me.
I know.
It just wasn't my
I
deal.
did
Wasn't
that.
my
I was
deal. So,
mhm.
you know,
I know, I
but
get it. I do. I get it. So,
yeah,
but it
my
has.
sister was the cheerleader, but not me.
Oh, well,
Oh,
I'm gonna try and get my daughter to talk to you. So, because
Well,
I think you're amazing. I
I
think you're
look
amazing.
forward to
I
it.
really do.
Thank
I
you.
really do.
Well,
So,
yeah.
Neil and Maureen, you guys are so sweet to invite me on, and I've really enjoyed talking with you.
oh,
And I wish you well with building your
thank
podcast. I think you're
you.
on the right track. And we're
Thank
talking
you.
Shift. People can find it on any of
Yeah.
the podcast platforms. It's on Spotify and Apple, and wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. And then on YouTube, it's just under my name, Loree Bischoff, on YouTube. So if you're somebody that likes to view the conversation, it can be found there as well. But
Well, I like
I'd
your
love to come back
dress. Is that
anytime.
a dress?
Oh,
I
it's just
love
a
you. Could
top.
you?
Just
It's so cute.
just a,
And yes,
thank you.
please come back. Please, please,
Yeah,
I'd love
please.
to come back.
love to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you,
All right.
Thank you
Loree.
for
Thank you so
having
much,
me.
Loree.
Thank you. You have a
My
great
pleasure.
day. Okay.
You too.
Thanks.
Thank you. You too. Bye bye.
Bye bye. We want to thank everyone for joining us today. If you're a writer and not a member of dailywisdomwords.com, sign up today. Just $10 for a lifetime membership, no dues. Take part in our active writing prompt and our Daily Wisdom Word blog. Groove to a little music and build your own social media profile. Meet and interact with other writers just like you.
Once again, that's dailywisdomwords.com. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at all the links listed in the description. And don't forget to hit like on this video and subscribe to this channel so you never miss an episode. If you want to show us a little extra love, we also have a link for donations in the description. Thank you, everyone, once again, and we will see you next week.
Goodbye.
Bye.